Hey guys, I'm happy that you are here. My name is BECHOY and I am your plantito from Mindanao. Tara, samahan niyo ako sa aking plant journey. And to those who are new to this channel, especially sa mga hindi pa nakapag-subscribe, kindly click on our subscribe button and click on the bell notification as well para maging updated kayo sa ating mga latest uploads. And also guys, kindly follow me as well on our other social media platforms. So that's aside from our YouTube channel. We do have a Facebook page and our page is BECHOY Vlog. And we also have an IG or Instagram and our ID is BECHOY_vlog, and let's talk about plants. So for our episode today guys, I'll be sharing with you some tips on how we can encourage bigger leaves for our Monstera Adansonii, and at the same time how we can stimulate faster growth for these plants. Later on also in this video, we will be doing a repotting because I'm planning to make an Adansonii tower out of these two Adansonii towers that I already have. Actually at this very point guys, I'm already very happy with the outcome of our Monstera Adansonii tower here, but then it came upon me na parang mas gusto kong gumawa ng tower na may multiple plants. So that is why I have decided to do this repotting video as well para mas mapaganda pa natin yung ating Monstera Adansonii tower. So a little bit of background first about our Monstera Adansonii. Actually, it's also called a Swiss cheese plant kasi meron siyang mga holes or may mga eyes dito sa gitna nating mga dahon, and it somewhat resembles to that of a cheese, yung parang European type of a cheese. And this also originated from Southern America, so sa mga Latin Americas na mga areas, dun sila nag-grow in the wild. So I think most of them, they just grow from the ground and then they trail dun sa mga trees. The same with other Monstera na mga plants. At itong ating Monstera Adansonii guys, actually meron siyang maraming varieties as well. So this is our Monstera Adansonii. So aside from this, meron ding Monstera Adansonii laniata. So they all belong to the family and genome of our Monstera Adansonii. And at the same time, itong Adansonii din natin mismo, itong Adansonii na ito, meron din siyang mga iba't ibang mga variegated na mga varieties. So merong mga Adansonii mint, may Adansonii aurea, and then meron din mga Adansonii albo. I also believe na yung ating Monstera Adansonii is actually one of the favorites, especially last year nung nag-start yung ating plantdemic. Number one, because this is a very affordable plant. And then number two, this is very easy to take care lang. So by the time na makuha mo yung kanyang kidlite, parang magtutuloy-tuloy na talaga yung growth ng ating Monstera Adansonii. And I would like to share lang then with you guys, actually these two Adansonii towers that I have here, these are from my propagations last December of 2020, and it also includes these two pots here, yung mga maliliit na mga pots na andirito. This is also part of my propagation. So one thing I've discovered and noticed also with our Monstera Adansonii is that kapag kaka-propagate lang natin nila, or if they are newly propagated, it will really take some time before they get the hang of it. So at the start talagang napakabagal at you would observe na wala masyadong galaw na nangyayari sa ating Monstera Adansonii. But as the time goes at kapag nakapagbuelo na siya, then magiging tuloy-tuloy na yung kanyang growth. So just like these two towers that we have here, I started with just a node cutting. So single leaf itong dalawang towers na ito last December, and then from there, ito na yung kanyang development. So that's almost 9 months of taking care of this one. So we have a trailing na Monstera Adansonii. So it starts out as medyo maliliit pa yung kanyang mga dahon as what we can see here. And in fact, for this tower na Monstera Adansonii natin, nag-give up na ito ng iilang mga dahon. So I think around 4 ata yung nag-give up niya for this tower. But for this other tower naman that we have here with us, luckily naman hindi siya nag-give up ng mga dahon. But then we can see here na meron talagang difference in terms of the size of our leaves. So from the bottom leaves natin dito, maliliit pa sila until eventually dito nag-mature size na yung ating mga Monstera Adansonii. And for our video as well today guys, I'll be sharing with you some basic care tips as well for our Monstera Adansonii. So we'll be touching some of the lighting requirements, the watering needs it needs, and also the potting mix for our Adansonii. So medyo pahapyaw lang na discussion about the care tips. So to start with, for our Monstera Adansonii, based on my experience, parang na-feel ko na mas gusto nila na nasa shady area sila, just like in their natural habitat sa mga rainforests in the South America areas. They thrive and they grow in areas under the shades of big trees. So parang yun yung medyo gusto nila. Ayaw nila yung direct sunlight kasi they have maninipis na mga dahon, so mas mabilis na din silang masunog. But then dito sa area ko, it's actually located in a shady area. It's also under a gardenette, so all throughout the day bright siya, but it's not really that direct sunlight. And also for these two Monstera Adansonii towers that we have here, actually I placed this one under the shade of our Borsigiana at the back. So kung makikita nyo guys, meron tayong Borsi na green Borsi lang na nasa likuran. So under that Borsigiana, dun ko nilagay yung ating dalawang Monstera Adansonii towers. So I have mentioned earlier that hindi nila preferred yung direct sunlight, but yung morning sunlight, they can actually tolerate that one. So that's morning light from around 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. So yan, that would be very healthy for our plants. And then anything or sunlight beyond 8 a.m., I think medyo mainit na yan. So baka makakakos na yan ng sunburn sa ating mga Monstera Adansonii. And I really believe that the lighting is really a very big factor as well in the development of our Monstera Adansonii. So you would know that there's a bit of a difference or you would know na medyo kulang yung light na nakukuha ng ating Adansonii kapag na-observe natin na yung comparison or yung development ng sizes of its leaves. Kung consistent lang siya na medyo maliit siya from the bottom to the top, so that would mean na medyo kulang talaga yung lighting na kanyang nakukuha. Pero if you observe na there's a big difference or a big development from the sizes of the leaves from the bottom to the top, then that would mean na sufficient yung lighting na nakukuha ng ating Monstera Adansonii. So like for example, yung ating Adansonii na tower dito. So dito from the bottom, makikita natin na maliliit talaga yung kanyang mga dahon. So this is just around 4 or 5 inches in length siguro. And then if we compare it dito sa mga dahon natin dito sa top portion na, so this is around 8 inches, so there's really a big development or difference in the size of the leaves. So now that we have tackled on the lighting needs or the lighting requirement of our Monstera Adansonii, let's proceed to the next basic care tips that I usually do for my Monstera Adansonii, and that is on the watering needs. So for our Monstera Adansonii, just like any other Monsteras, they are very sensitive to excessive watering. So itong mga Adansonii natin dito, actually I placed it outside just like any of my plants here. Most of them are actually placed dito sa outdoors, and then there are times na hindi ko nga ito nawawater. Siguro in 2 weeks time, once ko lang siya nawawater, especially kapag medyo maulan or medyo wet yung weather natin dito. And if you're asking, and actually I get this question a lot in our Facebook, in our IG, and even in our YouTube channel, kung yung mga halaman ko ba daw ay nababasa ng ulan. And the answer to that is yes. Itong mga plants po natin dito, they are rain or shine, and that includes our Monstera Adansonii. And we really need to be very careful before we water our Monstera Adansonii plants. So we need to check and inspect first if the first top inch is totally dry before we decide to water our Monstera Adansonii. So I've mentioned earlier na medyo sensitive talaga yung ating Monstera Adansonii with excessive watering. So yung pinakaunang evidence talaga na makikita natin ay ang pagkakaroon ng mga yellowing or pagkakaroon ng mga yellow areas dito sa ating mga dahon. So that's a clear sign na nag-overwater na tayo. So dapat from there, hinay-hinay na tayo sa pag-water ng ating Monstera Adansonii. Now that I've mentioned na medyo sensitive yung ating mga Monstera Adansonii in terms of overwatering, so what if na-underwater natin sila? And the answer to that, guys, is that yung ating Monstera Adansonii, they can tolerate more if they are underwatered as compared with overwatered. So we would know kung underwatered sila, kung totally dry na talaga yung ating soil mix. So we just have to water them para ma-refreshen sila. But then I do not suggest na i-consistent natin sila na i-underwater, kasi mangyayari niyan, talagang manunuyo yung ating mga dahon. And there's also one tip that I can share with you in taking care of our Monstera Adansonii, and that is misting them. So especially kapag medyo mainit yung ating panahon, wala masyadong ulan, it's the dry season or summer season dito sa Philippines, it's very important that we do misting para at least hindi naman mag-totally dry out yung ating environment for our plants. So if we notice na medyo mainit yung panahon, especially during the summer season, I usually do misting at least twice a day. So that's one in the morning and also one in the afternoon para ma-maintain natin na medyo humid yung ating surroundings. So it's also important that we group our plants, our Monstera Adansonii plants together with some other plants so that they would create this own, parang nagki-create sila ng kanilang microenvironment na medyo high in humidity. Now that we have discussed on the overwatering topics regarding our Monstera Adansonii, we can proceed further now, and it's also related to that one. It's very important for us to have the right proper mix or yung ating medium for our Monstera Adansonii. So we have different components here sa ating potting mix, guys. So yung ating potting mix for our Monstera Adansonii, yung mga characteristics niya na needed is that it has to be aerated. Very important yan, guys, na dapat aerated siya. It should be well draining, and then it should be able to hold moisture as well. And then at the same time, dapat meron din siyang nutrients to support plant development. So ito, yung mga different components natin dito, we have 25% of our cocoa cubes or yung ating bunot na naka-cube siya or naka-chop-chop. So that would be 25%. Yung main purpose ng ating cocoa cubes, guys, it would provide that aeration na property or characteristics for our potting mix. Now the second component is our cocoa peat. And that will comprise 25% in its composition. So yung cocoa peat naman natin, yan yung mag-hold ng moisture for our plant. And at the same time, it's also made of organic materials. So it's also a source of nutrients for our plants. The next component natin, and that would be 15% pumice. So yung pumice natin or yung mga small stones or yung mga pebbles, yan yung magpo-promote ng aeration and also water drainage for our plants. It's really important that we add in some pumice para makapag-promote siya ng aeration and water drainage. The fourth component, it's another 15% as well, and that is our rice hull. So yung ipa, guys, I add it para makapag-absorb siya ng excess moisture if ever na masyadong basa na yung ating potting mix. And the last component naman natin, that would be our vermicast or yung ating worm casting. That will comprise 20%. So yung vermicast natin, that will be the main fertilizer for our plants. Now, if ever, guys, yung mga components na mentioned ko earlier, it's not available, especially in some areas na hindi talaga siya, wala tayong mapagkukunan ng mga materials, we should not be worrying as long as we just take note of the characteristics na na-mention ko earlier. You can make adjustments kung ano yung wala, just make some substitute, or pwede nyo i-adjust kung apat lang na components yung present, then might as well use the 4 components lang, just make adjustments on the proportions of our materials. So one of the things that we should take note of, guys, in taking care of our Monstera Adansonii is the use of some pesticides, fungicides, and insecticides. It's very important na dapat meron din tayong gamitin na mga pesticides or fungicides or insecticides para naman ma-prevent and ma-take care natin ng maayos yung ating mga plants. So yung ginagamit ko at this very point is yung ating neem oil extract. So yan lang yung ginagamit ko for most of my plants. So I am using these leafy pests away. So this is a 3-in-1 na product from Leafy PH. So it's a pesticide, insecticide, and fungicide. 3-in-1 siya, guys. But this is for preventive purposes. So I usually use this one for at least once a week, depending on the severity. Kung merong mga infestations or meron ako na-notice na medyo meron talagang problem yung ating mga plants, I use this at least twice a week. So now that we have tackled on the basic care tips of our Monstera Adansonii, we can proceed in repotting yung ating dalawang Monstera Adansonii tower. So for that, we'll be needing some of these materials. Number 1 is our pot. So I've chosen a bigger pot na because we have 2 towers here. And very important din, guys, na dapat yung pot na gagamitin natin, meron siya mga holes para makapag-support ng water drainage. So aside from this one, we already prepared here our potting mix and yung go-to cable tie ko guys is very useful for me in almost all of my gardening works or gardening jobs dito sa ating garden. So ito, cable tie para pantalo natin later sa ating dalawang towers. So yung pinakaunang gagawin ko is that I'll be adding in some soil dito, a little bit of soil muna dito sa ating bottom portion. And ito guys, isang ginagawa ko is nilalagyan ko ito ng mga bunot or yung mga coconut husk na cubes na dito sa ilalim na portion para at least ma-filter yung ating bottom portion if in case na mag-water tayo, hindi naman totally wash out or ma-drain out yung ating potting mix. I actually came up with this idea of making a tower na Adansonii kasi I feel like medyo mas mapapaganda pa talaga natin yung ating Adansonii if we have at least 2 plants in one pot. So at this point, medyo mahirap na kasing tanggalin yung ating mga Adansonii plants from the pole, from the cocoa pole made from rope that I have made before. So ang gagawin ko na lang is i-join ko na lang itong dalawang plants natin at yung dalawang cocoa poles natin itatali ko na lang sila para we will be having 2 cocoa poles in one pot. So itong idea na ginagawa ko guys, I'll be joining in 2 of our towers na kasi very stable na ito guys, and then grabe na yung ugat niya dito. So gagawin ko lang is ipagsasama ko lang sila in one pot. Pero if you would want a fresh start, so from scratch yung gagawin ninyo, ang gagawin na lang natin is maglagay tayo ng pole dito, and then we'll be adding in dagdag natin yung ating mga cuttings dito para dito na sila mag-grow and thrive. So in this case lang naman sa atin, very stable na talaga yung ating plant, and in fact kung makikita ninyo dito yung kanyang mga ugat, talagang nakakapit na siya dito sa ating cocoa pole. So for our first tower dito guys, gagawin ko na lang sa kanya is sort of i-uproot natin siya. I'm actually thinking of recycling yung ating potting mix, or actually po pwede naman natin gawin is baguhin natin yung kanyang soil mix para magkaroon siya ng fresh start. Yung kanyang potting mix, it will still have nutrients in itself. So ito, ang gagawin ko na lang is re-retain ko na lang yung kanyang potting mix dito kasi why fix when it's not broken? So it's very healthy. And oops, so dito guys makikita ko na it's well rooted na talaga. Grabe yung ugat niya dito for our first plant. So just be placing it here, and medyo ano ko lang siya, i-arrange ko lang siya ng maayos, and I'll let it lean muna. Let's see here. Yeah, it can stand on its own. So from here, I'll be adding in I'll be joining forces here, yung ating second tower naman. So kukunin ko lang din siya, and I've decided that I will just be retaining yung kanyang old soil mix kasi why fix when it's not broken? So actually, yan. And let me inspect here. Yun, it's also well rooted talaga. And ayun. I-arrange ko lang din siya in a way na yun, should be on this side pala. Yan. So ito guys, ang gagawin ko lang is pagdidikitin ko kasi yung dalawang poles natin. So I'll be removing some soil mix here. Just need to be very careful kasi baka mayroon tayong ma-damage na mga ugat dito. So yan. I think po pwede ko na silang pagdikitin yung dalawang poles natin. Okay, so I think this is already good. And one advice talaga na may bibigay ko sa inyo guys, for our Monstera Adansonii, it's very good talaga that we add in yung cocoa pole or moss pole. Pwedeng moss pole yung gamitin natin, because I really noticed na meron talagang difference kapag merong pole na mapagkakapitan yung ating Adansonii. So aside from the fact na magiging stable yung growth niya, yung vertical growth niya, so support talaga yung kanyang pagiging tower. Sa pole kasi kumakapit yung mga ugat natin, so yung kanyang mga aerial roots dito siya kumakapit, and it would transition to become an activated root, at saka gagapang ito pababa papunta doon sa ating potting mix. In that manner, mas magiging mabilis talaga yung development ng ating Monstera Adansonii. So it's also one of the reason why it's very important talaga na maglagay tayo ng cocoa pole or moss pole para mas maging mapabilis natin yung kanyang development ng ating plant, pag-produce ng mga panibagong dahon, and at the same time, yung pagkakaroon ng malalaking mga dahon. So from here, I'm just trying to stabilize here. And pwede ko na itong lagyan ng tali yung ating dalawang cocoa poles para hindi naman siya mag-split later on. So dito na lalabas yung ating, dito ko na gagamitin yung ating cable tie. So just be looking for an area here kung saan ko siya pwedeng mailagay. And yeah, be placing it here. Insert ko lang siya somewhere dito sa ating dalawang cocoa poles. And see here. Okay, yeah, I think this will do the trick here. Lagay tayo ng isa dito sa ilalim and then maybe another one dito sa itaas. So kung po pwede naman, kung wala kayong cable tie, pwede kayong gumamit ng some other things here like nylon or maybe a cocoa rope will do the trick as well. So for now lang, kasi favorite ko talagang gamitin yung ating cable tie, ito yung gagamitin ko. So ito na siya, yung na-combine natin na dalawang Adansonii tower. So if ever naman guys, gusto nyo pa na maging lush pa itong ating Adansonii tower, so instead of like putting in 2 plants lang, you can opt to go for 4 plants or 6 plants, depende kung gaano ka-lush yung gusto niyo. At kung ganito na siya, na medyo lampas na siya sa kanyang pole, what we can also do is ikakat natin yung lampas na portion and then i-replant natin dito sa kanyang potting mix, so para mag-continuous pa rin yung kanyang growth. So now that we are done with our Monstera Adansonii tower, let's talk a little bit more on the propagation of our Adansonii. So based on my experience guys, there are actually 2 ways for us to propagate our Monstera Adansonii. One is just to cut it immediately and then replant it or immediately pot it in a potting mix. So yung second procedure naman na gagawin natin is after we cut it, we will do the water propagation. So ito, let's do a sample here. So papakita ko sa inyo yung ating isang Adansonii na meron na siyang 6 leaves. So dito, plano ko is ikakat ko ito in this area here. So dito meron na siyang mga aerial roots sa area na ito. So dito mag-a-unfurl pa lang yung kanyang pang-anim na dahon. So gagawin ko na lang is ikakat ko lang siya dito just below our node. And in between siya doon sa node ng isang or yung kanyang previous leaf. So dito ikakat ko lang siya. And gagawin ko is i-water propagate ko itong ating top cut na Adansonii. So for this cutting that we have guys, we actually have 2 options as I've mentioned earlier. Yung first one is just to pot it or plant it directly sa kanyang soil mix, and the second one is to water propagate yung ating cutting. So yung second option or yung water propagation, actually find it more convenient kasi mas mapapabilis natin yung pagkakaroon ng root development for our plant. So actually kung i-replant naman natin siya diretso sa kanyang potting mix, okay lang din, but then based on my experience kasi, I've tried before na meron ako na water propagate and meron din akong naka-direct na naka-plant sa soil. So what happened was that mas mabilis talagang mag-ugat yung ating Adansonii kapag i-water propagate natin sila. So lagay lang natin sila dito in a clean water. Actually, pwede kang maglagay ng mga rooting hormone, pero in this case kasi meron na siyang roots dito, so papa-develop lang natin siya. So water will do the trick na for this one. So we just need to change the water here at least 3 days siguro, or in a week's time we change the water at least twice. And based on my experience, in 3 days time meron ka na talagang makikitang movement ng mga roots. So either mag-activate yung roots or gagalaw or hahaba na yung kanyang mga roots for our Monstera Adansonii. So guys, we are done with our repotting and our little bit of propagation tricks for our Monstera Adansonii. So sa ngayon, ito na yung ating Monstera Adansonii tower na napaganda na natin. So that would be it guys. That would be our episode today. And I hope na nag-enjoy kayo and meron kayong natutunan sa ating episode today. And before we end our video, let us do our shoutouts. Shoutout kay Ma'am Marilyn Ortilio. Shoutout also kay Sir Joey Hunatas. Shoutout na rin kay Sir Ronald Babalio. Shoutout also kay Kelvin Maagad. Shoutout as well to Edwin Wale. Shoutout kay Ma'am Rodessa Dolier. Hi and good day to Ma'am Raquel Bungais. Shoutout kay Rama Tiage. And shoutout also kay Lorena Vargas. Guys, if you happen to like our videos, kindly click on our like button. Share it to your families, to your friends, and to your loved ones. And if bago ka pa lang po sa ating channel, please do not forget to click on the subscribe button and click on the bell notification as well para maging updated kayo sa ating mga latest uploads. Once again, this is BECHOY, your plantito from Mindanao. Happy planting!